Welcome to my virtual classroom.
Good day, teachers, and welcome to the second episode of Mom Z's virtual class. So, how was your week so far? Mine, it has been very busy, very productive, and happy. It was because last Tuesday, we celebrated the 33rd birthday ni Madam. If you wanna see kung paano namin yun na-celebrate, you can look for MZ channel. Then, last Thursday, you can look for MZ channel. We have a separate account on that. Then last Thursday, if you happen to be my Facebook friend, you will know that I represented the university sa second public Senate hearing on inclusive and special education.
Would like the Philippine Normal University to discuss with us the concepts and your suggestions as written down in the possession paper. So we call on Dr. Shirley Serbo or Dr. Janina Custodio to discuss the position paper of the PNU.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Custodio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sir Chair. So the Philippine Normal University is the National Center for Education. I would like to, of course, thank the President, the Vice President for Academics, and the Technical Working Group of PNU on Inclusive Education, kasama si Dr. Serbo, and helping me draft the Inclusive Education Position Paper, which was, of course, discussed sa Senate last Thursday. Maraming salamat. Now, episode 2 is on online migration, transitioning to the new normal. Migration is a movement from one locality to another. And from June 10th, draft guidelines on the implementation of flexible learning na binigay ng CHED, they mentioned that it has become an urgent need to explore other innovative learning modalities that will facilitate migration from traditional to flexible teaching and learning options. One learning modality is with the use of online. However, not all teachers can dwell with online learning. This is explained by Prensky 2001 on what he coined as a digital immigrant. Digital immigrants are those people who are born before the digital era or the digital age of 1985. So these people, therefore, most especially the instructors, will find it really difficult that they struggle to teach a population that speaks another language, or what we call as the digital language. Now imagine if you were a teacher and a digital immigrant living in a digital diaspora as coined by Axel of 2004. You're now forced to migrate to the digital era and to teach the digital natives who are very much accustomed to speaking digital language. Additionally, you even have to juggle between the roles of being a teacher and being a parent inside your house, as mentioned by the framework nung episode 1. Now, this will probably give us hard time, tayong teachers, to really cope up with the pandemic. And so for this episode 2, migration or online migration, transitioning to the new normal, let me provide 3 major tips on how we can survive this. 1, it is very important to have an assessment. 2, collaboration. And 3, monitoring. Now let's talk about the assessment. You cannot do a learning plan without knowing who your learners are and the capacity of the school and also the capacity of the teachers. So it is suggested that you have to plan based on the student and teacher needs assessment. Likewise, according to CHED Chairman De Vera III noong May 2020, one of the characteristics of flexible learning is you design your delivery based on the situation of the students, the faculty, and the schools. You have to find out what percentage of students have no connectivity at all, have some connectivity, and have full connectivity, and then design your classes based on that. Now, because of the assessment, we can now anticipate the needs of both students and teachers. Then the school can plan accordingly. Now, based on the definition given by the chairman on flexible learning, there are three categories. Merong no connectivity, some connectivity, and full connectivity. Then we probably have to match yung teachers dun sa students based on the certain assessment. For full online and blended, yung some connectivity lang, I would suggest for you to record your PowerPoint presentations. I will present here kung paano natin nalalagyan ng audio yung ating PowerPoint presentations so that they can check it on their convenient time, yung mga estudyante natin, and also for accessibility of our students who are blind.
So you just need to click slideshow and then record slideshow. Then with the use of your mic, you can start talking about the topic. For example, today we are going to talk about the models of disability. And then end slideshow or end show. You'll notice here that there is already a button. So once we play that, then you'll be hearing what you recorded.
Aside from PowerPoint presentations, we can recommend readings that are probably short with advanced organizers at the side, say concept map and some infographics which are easier to read, and of course YouTube presentations and TED Talks. But if you anticipate to have students who are deaf, you have to make sure that all videos that you're going to require them to watch or to view have subtitles with them. It is also suggested that our LMS and Google Classrooms be well organized. It is much better if before the term starts and we already know what our subjects are, meron ng certain folders, meron ng mga requirements, meron ng mga schedules, dates, and everything that we can probably explain sa online students or yung nasa full online na category. To some na minsan lang ang connectivity, if our platforms are clear, the instructions are clear, mas madadaliin din silang maintindihan kung ano nga ba ang learning outcomes of your syllabus. You can also have an open communication, say every Friday of 4 p.m. If there are concerns, pag-uusapan nyo dun sa certain period na yon. You can also use your Facebook accounts. You can have Messenger kasi it is also for free na pwedeng mas maging accessible for our students. Now, paano na for full offline? So, masasagot na yan ang kakayahan ng school. So, there should be a storage device na maproprovide ng school to those students na merong laptop pero walang internet connection. Tapos yung storage device na ito ay naglalaman ng certain week of lessons and requirements and some modules na pwede nilang sagutan. Pwede rin nilang itong ibalik sa eskwelahan. Depende sa arrangement ng school. Now, how about those students na wala namang internet and wala ring laptop? Well, that means kailangan ma-print ahead of time lahat ng requirements, lahat ng modules, lahat ng readings that you will require students to have. So, lahat ng ito ay dapat ma-provide sa date ng kanilang enrollment or the day before ng term 1. This is also one of the reasons why I thought of creating this YouTube account kasi I am thinking of downloading it ahead of time so that mailagay ito sa storage device para sa aking mga future students. Now, to those of you who are interested in special and inclusive education or learner ng SPED and inclusive education or teacher in SPED and inclusive education, this YouTube account is for free. I allow you, you're all welcome to view this lesson the week every Saturday. So since we're talking about assessments, paano naman natin magigradean yung ating mga estudyante? Now, we should be open to 4 options. One is online written, online oral, then we have offline written, and offline oral. Well, online written, ibig sabihin, kasabay nyo silang nagsasagot via Google Forms. Online oral would be kausap nyo sila sa video or sa Facebook, and they would give their answers. Kasi there are students na phone lang ang gamit pero wala silang laptop. So we should, of course, use this. Now, kapag offline written, that means ipapadala sa atin via email or via courier. And then offline video, pwedeng na-record nila, ipapadala sa atin. Pwede rin sa email, sa Facebook, or sa courier as well. Now, let's have the second suggestion, which is collaboration. So let me read to you the guidelines on the implementation of flexible learning. According to CHED, June 10, 2020, the paradigm shift in the teaching and learning process in Philippine higher education necessitates collaboration among stakeholders and strengthening the culture of sharing of knowledge, resources, and best practices. I, of course, agree in this implementation, and therefore I suggest that we have to understand the context in which the students live. We can therefore tap their caregivers, their siblings, or make a certain task that will entail the chores that they do inside the house. And then emerge ito using the different concepts or theories that we are teaching. Migration, by the way, is when you move to one locality to the next. But in our setup right now, migration is not just about having your syllabus and putting everything into an online or blended mode. That is not what migration means. That when we do migrate other countries, you have to learn their ways, their cultures, their values, and everything else, so that we can live peacefully in that country. Ganun din ngayon sa migration natin on our syllabus in our subjects. We have to consider the context in which the people live. So therefore, pwede nating, in my case, since I am teaching special education, instead of having giftedness as my first topic, we decided na unahin ang emotional behavioral disorders to discuss mental health during the coronavirus or during this pandemic. So we can always tweak that, and then that doesn't mean na hindi na pag-uusapan yung gifted. Inuna lang natin na bigyan ng attention yung konteksto bago tayo tumuloy sa mga susunod pang mga topic. And so in collaboration, we need to learn to team up and scale down outputs and contents. So sino-sino ba yung nagtuturo ng subject na to? And they have to team up and then talk about scaling down important topics that need more attention than others. Then, aside from teaming up, we also have to talk to other teachers who are teaching other subjects and then discuss kung anong possible output ang pwedeng mabuo na tina-target ang 2 to 3 different subjects. Now, even if you have one project na ginawa ng pwedeng isang estudyante or gusto nila ng small group or big group na team, ang ating pag-grade is nakadepende pa rin sa ating subject or sa learning outcomes. Therefore, there is one project, but there are 3 different rubrics na pinresent natin sa mga estudyante nung nag-discuss tayo ng project. Remember, when we discuss projects, ang rubric ay hindi to follow. Dapat kasabay yun para alam ng mga estudyante kung para saan ang project na ito at ano ba yung gusto nating matarget nila. And that means one project and targeting 3 or 2 different subjects. We could also apply Bruner's spiral curriculum, in which Bruner mentioned that subjects could be taught at levels of gradually increasing difficulty. So the final suggestion is on monitoring. You have to at least know that you still have students in your online classroom or even in your offline classroom. You can reach them out. You have to know their numbers so that we can personally call them up and learn kung ano ang magiging or nagiging problema nila. So you have to monitor and then adjust to their needs. Here, schools should also be open to completion ng isang year ng subject. And of course, we have to understand in the context of the students again, at sabi nga ni Maslow sa kanyang theory of motivation, if the lower level needs are not significantly met or reasonably met, mahihirapan yung estudyante to move on dun sa mga higher needs in which kasama dun ng learning and something else. Now, if kulang or hindi nila na-feel ang security because of the COVID situation or their parents ay probably walang trabaho, so on and so forth, we have to understand their context or their context and then adjust kung ano man ang kailangan nila. So, I suggest as teachers kung kaya natin na tumawag sa kanila personally, alamin yung Facebook accounts nila, then we of course have to do those things in order for us to know if meron pa ba tayong estudyante. It is also suggested that we shall have few numbers of students in one classroom. Kasi too much na yung 25. Sana mga 20 lang because online learning or online teaching is more difficult than face-to-face discussions. Remember natin na ngayon lang nangyari ito. So lahat tayo nangangapa dito. So and that is the reason why we have to ensure na before tayo pumasok sa term 1, magamit muna natin yung mga necessary adjustments bago tayo magulat sa kung anong kailangan natin na harapin. And I hope that my 3 suggestions, which are assessment, the collaboration, and then monitoring, ay makakatulong sana sa pagpasok natin sa bagong yugto ng pagtuturo natin, teachers. And of course, thank you so much for watching and subscribing to this Mom Z virtual classroom. If you happen to have comments and suggestions, we're very much willing na tanggapin lang lahat ng ito. And additionally, for the spirit of collaboration, you are welcome to download or to view or to get ideas from this YouTube account, most especially if you are teaching special education and inclusive education, MA or undergrad, kasi this will be used as a platform for my undergraduate and graduate students in SPED and inclusive education.
So thank you very much, and let's all continue to be a blessing to one another.